everyone, Kate here, and today I am going to be reviewing my own beauty products. Before I start, I should mention that yes, I am wearing a wrist brace. The reason the videos have kind of been shorter lately, and I was going to do all those link videos with, you know, free stuff to watch and read and whatever. But I've strained my wrist a bit, and editing is incredibly painful at the moment, so apologies. I don't know if I'm going to do any more of those link videos anyway. I think at the time it sounded really good. Now that we've all been in quarantine for a while, or a lot of us have been in quarantine for a while, I certainly don't have a lot of extra time. I don't know about you, but I've been surprisingly busy. Anyway, I've made a list of all the products that I made in the last 2 years, and I got little color-coded dots on here to indicate ones that I've used up and ones that I've still got. So I think how I'm going to do this is I'm going to start right at the beginning, so 2 years ago, and then work my way to the present. Okay, so the first thing on my list is 1930s style eyeshadow. So I believe this is not a historical recipe. This was my take on a 1930s style eyeshadow. I couldn't find an actual historical recipe that I liked, that, you know, had ingredients that one could get nowadays. I may not have been able to find any sort of recipe at that time, but I found a modern eyeshadow recipe and basically colored it to make it look historical. So it was a historical style product rather than an actual historical product. So I still have them. I have 4 of them. 3 of them? 3 of them. I still have 3 of them. So I have the brown one, I have a blue one, and I have a black one as well. Or it was supposed to be great. So I actually haven't used much of these. And the reason for that is that I later made a better eyeshadow, one that I liked more than these. They're okay, they were just a little fussy to use, and they weren't quite as pigmented as my later shadow. You have to set cream eyeshadows with powder afterwards, and most days I'm just kind of lazy. I didn't get a lot of use out of these. They're okay, but if you're going to make a vintage style cream eyeshadow, I would recommend the other recipe that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. That one I much preferred to these 1930s style eyeshadows. They've actually kind of gone off too. Oil goes stale after, you know, 2 years. So I'm going to toss these after the video. Another thing I'm going to toss after the video is my rose petal vinegar. This is not the same batch that I made 2 years ago. This is about from a year ago. After a while, I find about 10 months to a year, they tend to fade in color, and sometimes, I don't know if you can see on camera, there's kind of a little vinegar SCOBY forming in there, just a little bit of residue. It still smells fine. It still smells like rose petal vinegar, but it's not that pleasant to use anymore, so I'll probably throw this out. I do make this not every year, but most years. It's okay. I haven't been using it as much lately. This stuff's great for acne, occasionally I used to use it as a hair treatment, like dilute it in a bit of water and use it as a clarifying rinse. It's basically just rose scented and colored vinegar, so you use it as you would use any cosmetic vinegar, so it's an okay recipe. Next on the list, my 1910 face powder. So behind me here, I keep all my makeup in a vintage jewelry box. So, oh, I'm going to pull out, I don't think this is on my list, but I have made this in the last 2 years. So this is my circa 1910 powder, and I also have my Swan Down powder. This recipe I posted over 2 years ago, but I have made a fresh batch since then. This is not 2-year-old powder in here. There's actually not much left. I quite like the circa 1910 powder. I do have plans to maybe experiment with some more historical powders, although I haven't been wearing them much lately. I've actually been going just makeup free because I find my skin prefers it. But when I do wear powder, it depends on what I'm wearing it for. If I want more of a full coverage powder, like if I'm not wearing foundation, I'm just wearing powder and I want a bit of acne coverage, the circa 1910 powder is better than the Swan Down. The Swan Down has a much lighter coverage. This has a little more opacity. If you have darker skin, this is probably not the best powder for you. It's got a fair amount of zinc oxide in it, and I find it really... I don't want to say it gives you the sunscreen look, but you know the sunscreen look that you get? That's from usually something like zinc oxide. So bear that in mind. But if you're looking for an everyday powder, the Swan Down powder I made is my favorite. It's very pretty in terms of the scent. It's got the orris powder, I believe it's orris powder in it, that smells really nice. Kind of like violet, so I used to use it in a lot of violet perfume. Great everyday powder, great for coverage. So the next thing on my list is not an actual beauty product, but it was beauty related, so I've included it, and that is my no-sew curlers. I love these. These are like the best thing I've ever made. I use these all the time. Almost exclusively now if I'm going to curl my hair and setting it overnight, I use my no-sew curlers. So the original curlers I made out of craft foam. I wanted a more environmentally friendly alternative. I just used the craft foam originally because that's something I happen to have on hand. I have made a few replacements as those have worn out of felt. The only thing with the felt is that I found they're not really no-sew. If you do a single layer, they tend to get stretched out of shape pretty easily. So what I've done is I've cut 2 curlers out of felt, omitting the slit in the middle. The slit in the middle of the curler, it's supposed to hold the ends in place. It doesn't really do that much. So I omitted the slit, cut 2, and then sewed them together. And then instead of just poking a hole in the middle, I think I used a hole punch for these. I used a buttonhole stitch on my machine and then cut it. So if you're going to make the no-sew curlers and you do actually sew, the felt option is a great alternative to the craft foam. Highly, highly recommend making these curlers. These curlers are fantastic. They are so comfortable to sleep in, and I really like the results they give as well. So highly, highly recommend this one. This is like the best. Okay, and the next thing on my list is the 1898 Rose Balm. So this was a lip balm and just general all-purpose balm. I put most of them in lip balm tubes, so that's kind of how I've been using it. You can use it on your hands or on your cheeks or anything like that. It's alright. I kind of prefer a waxier balm myself. That's a personal preference thing though. People who I gifted these to, I made a whole bunch for Christmas that year, they really enjoyed them. So it's a lighter lip balm. Smells really pretty. I tinted mine with a little bit of mica, so it's got this lovely light pink color. It smells really nice. It smells like roses, so if you're looking for a lighter lip balm or cuticle balm or something like that, this one was a good one. Okay, the next one on my list is a 1920s rouge cake. As you can see, I still have a fair bit left of this one. I really like the effect this rouge cake gives. It's just a little fussy. And I found that if a product is a little fussy, I don't tend to use it. So I've barely touched this at all. I've used a little bit of it. You can see it's indented a little bit there, but I really haven't used that much. The main problem with this one is I put it on with like a beauty blender sponge, but it is very easy to put on way too much and look a little clowny. Often when I'm putting on makeup, it's like, okay, I got 5 minutes to get out the door, I'm just going to put on a little bit of blush, and this is not the kind of blush that you put on in 5 minutes. So it was an interesting recipe to make, but I didn't get that much use out of it. Okay, the next 2 things on my list I don't actually have anymore. That is the whipped shea butter and the rose water cold cream. Both were great recipes. I make the whipped shea butter all the time for my grandmother. That's one of her favorite hand creams. She actually has 2 favorite hand creams. I think I have videos for both of them. The whipped shea butter is her current favorite. She uses that more as a daytime cream, and the other one is a nighttime cream. It's a great product. It's basically whipped shea butter and oils. It's nice. I just don't have any at the moment. And the other one was a rose water cold cream from 1867. I don't really remember it, to be honest. It's been a while. I think it was just a standard rose water cold cream. It was fine as far as I remember. Cold cream's kind of a cold cream. A lot of these historical cold creams are oils and rose water. They are what they are. They're all pretty much the same. The next one on my list is the one I mentioned earlier, and that is my 1919 eyeshadow. So this is the recipe I liked a lot better than that 1930s style eyeshadow. As you can see, I've gotten a lot more use out of this one. There's definitely still some left in here. I haven't used all of it. It still smells fine, so it's definitely got more life left in it. I haven't worn it recently just because the only problem I find with this recipe is that in the cold Canadian winters, my bathroom and my hands are too cold to make this product work very well. The idea behind a cream eyeshadow like this is that the warmth of your hand melts a bit of product and then you put it on your eyelid. My hands tend to be too cold to pick up enough product. Other than that little issue of application in cold weather, I quite enjoyed this eyeshadow. If you're looking for a historical cream eyeshadow, highly, highly recommend. As I said before, I don't wear cream eyeshadows unless I'm purposely doing a historical look. For every day, I tend to be kind of lazy and just use a powder shadow because it is so much easier. But if I'm purposely going for a historical makeup look, I want to be historically accurate. I have a full 30s thing going on, or a full, what was this? This was a 1919, you know, anywhere sort of in the 10s, 20s, 30s, and I really want that historical look. This is the product I go for. I really, really enjoyed this eyeshadow. Next we have my 1915 dry shampoo. So, I'm sure you can tell by the jar, I didn't get a lot of use out of this one. It's actually quite a good dry shampoo. I just discovered that I don't really use dry shampoo that much. That's it. It smells really pretty though. I believe it's violet scented, sort of like the Swan Down powder that I mentioned earlier. So it was a good product. I just don't happen to use dry shampoo, so I didn't get a lot of use out of that one. That I might give to my mother. She uses dry shampoo a lot, so that's what happens to the products that I don't use. They tend to be donated to other people. The next one is another one I don't have anymore. That is the 1936 face toner. And I don't actually remember that recipe. I think... was that rose water and vinegar? Rose water and something? As far as I can remember, it was okay. I used it all, so it must have been fine. I'm sure it was fine. I don't really remember that one at all. I haven't made it again since, so it obviously didn't do wonderful things for my skin, but I don't remember it being particularly horrific either, so. Okay, so the next one is a 1917 liquid eyeliner. Now this is one I actually have gotten a lot of use out of. I no longer buy other liquid eyeliner. This is my go-to product. You apply it with a wet brush, like you add a little bit of water to the cake and then apply it sort of like you would a cake mascara. I have a small brush and a bigger brush that I can either put on a very thin, sort of historically accurate line, or if I want something more dramatic, I can go for a bigger swoosh of a cat eye. Really, really like this recipe. I find it wears quite well. Whenever I apply it, it stays where I put it. It looks really great. It hasn't gone off or anything. I haven't had any problems with preservation-wise. Again, I don't wear it every day. I only wear liquid eyeliner on occasion, but the cake's held up fine. It hasn't gone moldy or gone icky. I leave the lid off when it's drying, like after I've used it, just to dry out. But this one was definitely a success, and I won't buy commercial eyeliner anymore. I'm just going to use this one. Next one's another one I don't have, and that was my 1920s lotion bar. I think that one was pretty good. That is one that I gifted most of it to my mother. I really like making lotions and skin creams, but I don't tend to use them that much. My skin's not that dry. I tend to be fairly, I don't know, evenly moistured. It's gotta be a better way to put that, but my skin doesn't need a lot of extra moisture. So most of the 1920s lotion bars went to her. I think I kept part of one, like I kept one small one for myself, used up a long time ago. She's used all hers. She really, really liked them. They're a very rich product. They were very, very moisturizing. So if you don't like kind of the oily or greasier products of the past, you're probably not going to like those ones. But they were nice, I think, as far as I remember. The next was the 1920s room sprays, which I also don't have. I think the theater spray, there was one that was like a movie theater spray or something. It was nicer than the other one. The other one was a room deodorizer, and I think it might have had thyme oil in it. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it had thyme oil. It was definitely more medicinal smelling. I think we used that one up as sort of like a bathroom spray. You could use it on countertops too. It was a high sort of alcohol content and alcohol and essential oils, so sometimes I'd use it a bit as like a countertop spray or something. As far as I can remember, they were fine. I didn't love either of them enough to make them again, but they were pleasant enough to use at the time. The next one is also a 1920s product. I must have been on the 1920s kick at the time. So this is a 1920s liquid powder. And I haven't used this one at all. I used it for the video. I might have used it once or twice after that, but I don't tend to use it. I think it has some glycerin in it, and my skin is not the best with glycerin. I find it seems a little sticky. I know some people love glycerin, and it definitely has skin benefits. My skin doesn't like it. It just felt heavy on my face, and that's partly because I'm not used to wearing foundation. I used to get the same feeling from foundation, that kind of like really heavy clogged, my skin can't breathe feeling. You know, that one. So that's what I found, that it felt like foundation on my face, and I just don't like the feeling of foundation on my face, so I didn't get a lot of use out of this one. If I remember correctly, it had a pretty good opacity. I might just end up throwing the rest of this bottle out because I don't know if I'm going to use it. Okay, the next one on my list is a, what does that say, 1867 economical scent. So this is a perfume one I did not that long ago. It's a pretty typical scent for the Victorian era. I've definitely made some other perfume blends that smell very similar to this one. I quite like it. It's definitely an old-fashioned smelling scent. I don't know if modern people would enjoy it as much as I do, but I quite like this kind of scent. It vaguely reminds me of Thrill's gum. You know, the gum that tastes like soap? A lot of these Victorian scents kind of remind me of that. But I quite like it. I use it as a perfume sometimes, and sometimes I just use it as a general air freshener kind of product. I didn't make it that long ago, so I still have a fair bit left in the bottle. I did use vodka for this product. I know people yell at me in the comments every time I use vodka for a perfume, because I should be using perfumer's alcohol and stuff. I can't tell the difference. I'm sure in a very scientific test there would be a difference. I cannot tell the difference in a perfume product. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It's a lot easier to get my hands on vodka than it is on perfumer's alcohol. It works. I don't know what to tell you. I get a little hesitant making more perfume recipes because I always get yelled at in the comments. No, you shouldn't use vodka. But like, it's fine. Really. It's okay, people. It's okay. Alright, the next one is another one I don't have anymore. That is the 1910 Beetroot Blush. I think this is the recipe that I had like 3 attempts at, and 2 were utter fails. That was my first time experimenting with beetroot powder, and it did not go well. The final product was pretty good. The reason I don't have it anymore is because after a few months, the beetroot pigments turned brown, and that's pretty common with a lot of these botanical pigments. Over time, no matter how beautiful and brilliant they are to begin with, they do dull, they do turn brown. So that's what happened. So I used most of it. It didn't make a very big batch, and that was intentional because I knew that blush wouldn't have a long lifespan. So I used most of it. I probably used maybe more than half anyway. but I had to throw the last bit out just because it had turned brown, and that wasn't a very flattering blush color. The next one I also don't have, although I still have the bottle. I could have gotten the empty bottle. I kept it because it was cute. And that is my 1920s effervescent bath, what was it? Bath powder. So I was going to call it a bath salt, but it didn't actually have any salt in it. It was just a fizzy powder for the bath. That was literally all it was. It didn't really have any benefits per se. There was nothing really in it that had a lot of... There were some maybe minor skin benefits, but most of the ingredients in it were purely there for the chemical reaction that made it all fizzy. So I used that up in a couple baths, and it was fun, but it wasn't a particularly useful product. I prefer Epsom salts or something like that in the bath, but that was a fun novelty thing to make. I probably won't make it again. The other one I don't have anymore is tonic for dry hair. That was a oil tonic, I believe. I don't have any of the oil tonics that I made in the past because I have used them all up. Every hair oil that I've ever made, I have just downed the whole bottle on my head. Just I love a hair oil. Any of the hair oil recipes I've tried, I can't think of any that I haven't liked. I always have a bottle of hair oil in the cupboard. I could have grabbed my current bottle, but it's not the same one as here because I've used that entire bottle up. That wasn't actually that long ago, but I use them every time I shampoo. I do a oil treatment on my scalp. I have sort of eczema, psoriasis, something. I've never had it properly diagnosed on my scalp. So I really love the oil products for help calming that down. They are fantastic. I go through a bottle of hair oil like that, so... Don't have that one anymore. It was great. I think the bottle I have right now is just almond oil and rosemary oil. Sometimes I use lavender oil as well, just for a very simple hair tonic. But I find the rosemary oil really, really great. It is well known as a good oil, essential oil for your scalp. So, highly recommend any hair oil, any of them, any one I've ever made. They're all great. Says me, who made them. I might be a wee bit biased. Okay, and the next one is this 1940s vanishing cream. I don't know if you could tell in the actual video. I was really disappointed with the jar itself I used. I got this what looked like a really, really cute jar at Michael's, thinking it was green glass, not realizing that it's actually painted green. Because when I went to put my label on it, what I've been doing with my labels lately is I've been putting basically packing tape around them and then trimming around the outside. I think that was Uniquely Madison that had a video a while back about doing labels, and that's what she did. That's brilliant. I used to use label paper and just peel and stick them, but the problem with those is when they get wet, the pigment runs, and the label paper's kind of it's obviously more expensive than regular printing paper, so I've been switching to regular printing paper and that. But when I went to peel off the excess tape on this cheap little bottle, it ripped the pigment right off. So I was really mad about that. Because it's otherwise a really cute bottle, but I probably won't be able to reuse it after this unless I just peel off all of the pigment. Oh, it smells so pepperminty. It's got that peppermint rose scent. It's really, really nice. I don't know if you can see how much I've actually used. I've used some of it. It's a little light for me. I like the really heavy, greasy cold creams of sort of the Victorian era, whereas this 1940s vanishing cream is a lot more like a modern cream. It's a lot lighter. I think I put a little bit too much peppermint oil in this because it definitely tingles a bit. This might be one that ends up going to my mother. I haven't quite decided. It looks so cute though on my shelf, so it's a great product if you like a lighter skin cream. It's just not something that appeals to me. I like them heavy and greasy. Oh, okay. That only applies to cold cream. Okay, moving on. This is the 1917 red liquid paint that I just made. I just grabbed one of the 3 bottles. I am actually wearing this today. I don't know, I put on quite a bit because sometimes on camera I get pretty washed out looking. sometimes. I always get pretty washed out looking on camera. My skin is very pale, and the camera has a hard time, literally has a hard time focusing on my face because of it. It throws the white balance off. So I am wearing this today. I actually really, really like this product. Unlike the other rouge product that I didn't really use much, this one I use all the time. I wore it on, oh, we had a family dinner for something. It must have been Easter, or it could have been my mom's birthday. I think it was Easter though. And I actually got compliments from family members like, wow, you look healthy today. Thanks. And it was because of this product. So really, really enjoy this. It is quite moisturizing. The one spot that I do sometimes get dry is my cheeks. So the glycerin in here is actually quite nice. I think I mentioned before that I don't really like glycerin on my face, but I don't have a problem with it just on my cheek area, so that doesn't bother me. Very, very pretty, easy to apply. It doesn't seem to smear all over the place. It seems to stay put pretty well. So this red liquid paint recipe was definitely a winner. And then the only other thing, I don't have it on my list because I wrote this list a while ago and it just took me a while to film this video because of obvious reasons. This is the almond oil quote-unquote cold cream that I made recently. This is all that I kept for me. Most of it went to my mother as a birthday gift. She has really, really been enjoying this. I really like this one too, actually. This one is super, super moisturizing with the dry hand situation at the moment. Lifesaver, this stuff. This stuff is really, really rich. If you don't like rich, heavy creams, you will not like this one. I think I wrote in the comments of that video, check out the vanishing cream video if you prefer a lighter cream, because I know some people find these really too oily. They just, ugh, I hate them, but I love them, so I recommend. My mother recommends it. Skin cream is very much a personal preference kind of thing. I've noticed people have very different opinions about what they like, what they don't like. Some people like a lot stiffer of a cream. Some people like something a lot lighter, fluffier, or more liquid, or heavier, or lighter. You know, there's tons of different variations. It's very much a personal preference thing. So you might have to try a lot of skin creams before you find one that is just perfect for you. It's out there, I promise. Okay, 3 things that were not on my list because they never actually made it to the channel are these. So starting at the beginning, this is one that I think I mentioned I was going to make on my channel. This is a headache cologne from, I want to say the 1920s, but I'm not 100% sure about the date on this one. It's, oh wow, you can actually, I don't know if you can see there, the menthol crystals have started to crystallize on the lid. It would be very good for decongestion, but it is so strong. It is so, so strong. I've never used menthol before, like menthol crystals, so I hadn't looked up the usage rate, and this recipe is more than double the top limit of usage for menthol. You're supposed to kind of put it on your forehead if you have a headache, and it's supposed to be cooling and soothing and blah, blah, blah. It is so strong. My whole face got all red and puckery, and it was really bad. So this one never made it to the channel. I'm only mentioning 3 here today, but there are probably more in the last 2 years that never made it to the channel. I do test all my products. If something really, really sucks, it doesn't make it to the channel. So the next one that I hated, and I really just should throw out, this is a glycerin-based cold cream. The idea behind this one is that it's basically a standard cold cream recipe, but instead of water, you use glycerin. And I was thinking, oh, that would be great. Without a preservative, it would probably have a longer shelf life than a traditional cold cream does, because the water content tends to make them go off fairly quickly. I just don't like it. It's really sticky. It's really icky. As I said, I do like heavy creams, but this one just, I did not care for the stickiness at all. It just made everything feel really gross, and it didn't seem to absorb well. So it was never mentioned again. And the last one, this might be older than 2 years. I really should just throw this out. I think I was just so disappointed that this didn't work that I've kept it, because I hope that one day it would, but it's kind of gone brown. So this is an Almond nail dye kind of thing. I think it was like a nail polish. nail stain. I think that's what they call it, a nail stain. The idea was that you got alcohol and you dissolve some alkanet in it, which is a kind of reddish pigment that was used in a lot of cosmetics around the turn of the century. Especially, it's used in a lot of lip balms and hair oils and stuff. And the alcohol would absorb the dye, and then you would use that on your fingertips, and it would give your nails a bit of a rosy glow. Not like a, you know, nail polish, but just sort of a slight tint. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting to experiment with. I don't like wearing nail polish all the time. I do give my nails a break every once in a while, so this is a water-based polish, though. I should mention that I don't use a super chemically polish. I use a water-based nail polish, which I quite like, but I thought this would be a fun alternative. The only thing is, it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. I might still have the footage for this one. If I can find it, I will include it here. I was so mad. It just, it doesn't do a thing. It looks like it should do something. It'll stain paper, it'll stain all kinds of stuff. It just doesn't do anything for the nails. Not even a hint of color. Nada. I was so disappointed in that one. So I really should throw it out. It's been sitting on my counter for ages because I'm just like, you should work. I don't understand. Don't understand. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. That is everything that I've made in the last 2 years, at least for my channel. I do have products that I've made for my own personal use, lipsticks and eyeshadows and things that just aren't historical and therefore not really of interest to this channel. Please let me know down in the comments if there's any recipes that you would like me to make in the future. I know the cake mascara is one that gets requested all the time, but if you have any other suggestions of particular products you would like to see, I do have a running list of video suggestions. I'm very slow at getting to this list, but I do have a list, so let me know down in the comments below. My Patreons do actually get the final say in what recipes get made, as it's a voting system, so they vote for what recipe gets made next. I come up with a list and they vote. So, well, thank you for watching. I hope everyone's staying safe in this crazy time that we're having at the moment. And I guess I will see you guys next time. Bye! By the way, what do you guys think of this background? It's actually really easy to film here. I picked filming here just because I needed the table to keep all my products on, but this really works. I'm actually going to rearrange my shelves a bit so this may not continue as a background, like exactly, but this may be my new filming background. I kind of like it. I got my comfy, you can't see it at all, but I got my comfy Victorian chair that I'm sitting on. I love this thing. It's so great. It's so pretty with the carvings and the green velvet. It's actually very comfortable too. I have short legs. I have short legs and I don't fit modern furniture. Does anybody else have that problem? Is that just me? Probably a personal problem, but I fit Victorian furniture so much better than modern stuff. Me and my puny widow wigs. Anyway, goodbye. This video is made possible through the generous support of my Patreon members. Thank you.